And I remember thinking to myself, I don't even know why God brought me here for this. I understand in my understanding of how he prepared me for it, but why did he choose me for it? And disqualifying myself because I wasn't a pastor. How could I lead the Christian chamber and we're doing marketplace ministry if I'm not a pastor? And what my aha moment was, and what I've learned, is that the church has really kind of taught us something that may not be true. And that is you're either in ministry or you're in marketplace, but you can't be both. And that's not true. The call for our life with the Great Commission is that we're all fishers of men.
Hey everyone, we are excited to have my sweet friend Krystal Parker with us today. And Krystal, just take a minute and just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. So I'm Krystal Parker, and I am blessed to serve with the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce. I'm originally from a very small town called Moscow, Kansas. And that's right. Sounds like Moscow, Russia, but it's actually Kansas. And the reason you probably haven't heard of it because there's only 300 people that live in this little town. But today we are located in Orlando, Florida. That's where our U.S. Christian Chamber headquarters are. And I'm just so blessed to serve with this mission of connecting Christian business leaders in the marketplace and giving them a place to go and do business.
I love that. So what's your heart and, how did you get started?
I think I actually started many, many, many years ago. God started me on this path many years ago. I just didn't realize it. Being from that small town, when you grow up in that little town like that, I had 7 in my graduating class. And I just remember thinking, I am never coming back to this place, and so I'm burning out of here and I'm blazing a trail. And I was far too excited to never look back. I get to KU, that's where I went to college, and I had 21 hours left, and I ended up dropping out of college. And talk about just everything just gone, just put my tail between my legs, get in my little car, drive 6.5 hours all the way back across the state of Kansas to the town I said I'd never go back to, feeling like a world-class failure. And, people knew I was coming back before I even got back into town, is how small that town was. And that was just extremely humbling for me. But sometimes, God gives you a chance to kind of start over and start with a different perspective. And that's really what happened. I ended up stocking shelves in a truck parts store in, this little area. And it happened to be a subsidiary of an oil and gas company. As God would have it, 12 years, I became the youngest officer. I finished my undergrad in psychology, got my master's in marketing. They sent me to Harvard Business School. I'm running the gas company on the west side of Texas in 47 cities, all of customer service for Texas. I mean, it is like a story that is only explainable by God, but I explained it by me. Look what I did. The more power, the more money, the more things I accumulated, the more that I made God smaller and smaller in my life. Mm-hmm. And there was no fruit around these trees, even though in this work environment, I called myself a Christian. I thought I was, in fairness for me and myself, I really thought I was, because I learned that if you go to church for 1 hour on Sunday, doesn't matter how you live your life, doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter if you pray, read the Bible, or even having a relationship with God, that you are a Christian. And that was true in the sense that we all know that if we accept Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior, that we are saved by that grace. But we have an opportunity to live such an abundant life when we invite Him in. I didn't know that. And so here I am in corporate, and to do what I did in the short period of time, there was a wake of dead bodies behind me in this trail. And calling myself a Christian, I know people looked at me and thought, if that's a Christian, I don't want anything to do with it. I wasn't attracting people to the kingdom. I wasn't helping people grow in their faith. All I was doing was serving me, 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 me. And when you do that, you a lot of things tend to fall by the wayside.
Mhm.
And so the Lord just allowed that. But what I know now is that God was preparing me for where I am today. Once I truly and fully had enough failures and got on my knees and invited God in for my life, I experienced the living water of Jesus Christ. And that is the most incredible and overwhelming experience that I've ever had. Everything that the world tells you will make you whole is a lie. And I believed those lies for most of my life. And finally, when I realized that they were all empty, they were hollow, there was no way to just fix anything that was broken or to be full in the wholeness with Christ until I just invited him in. So all those years of church were great because they were wonderful cornerstones for me. And it was amazing how quickly I was kind of like, it reminds me of the woman at the well. That was kind of me when Jesus came to me. And once I filled, I was like, I've got to tell everybody about this. All those people in corporate, everything, all those people are out there doing business and life with a head knowledge of Jesus Christ, but not a heart knowledge of him. I want to help them because we can use our platform and use our businesses as the greatest opportunity to reach people for kingdom advancement. And so that's kind of the long story short how I got here today.
I love that. And I love too that you shared how you struggled too. And those lies that we believe, because the enemy knows exactly what to tell you, what to tell me, right? To hold us back or to stop us from growing into everything he has for us. And so what was one of the biggest aha things that you learned?
Well, I've learned a lot just even being in this role that I'm in.
Yeah.
I ended up coming into the Christian Chamber in Central Florida as the president. And I think one of the biggest ahas that I learned was when one of the members, and here I am the president, and I remember addressing the chamber for the first time, and it was 2 months after COVID, so I had to do it via recording. We did a recorded hello, and when I addressed the chamber members for the first time, I wanted to just come out and say, look, I am a sinner. I am saved by grace. I am not a pastor. And I haven't been to seminary school. And so, like, here's who I am, and here's what God's brought you for your president of the Christian Chamber, And I remember thinking to myself, I don't even know why God brought me here for this. I understand in my understanding of how he prepared me for it, but why did he choose me for it? And disqualifying myself because I wasn't a pastor. How could I lead the Christian chamber and we're doing marketplace ministry if I'm not a pastor? And what my aha moment was in what I've learned is that the church has really kind of taught us something that may not be true. And that is you're either in ministry or you're in marketplace, but you can't be both. And that's not true. The call for our life with the Great Commission is that we're all fishers of men. God just gifted me with a mind for business, but I'm an evangelist for Jesus Christ, no matter where I am. Somebody may be gifted as an accountant, and God bless you people because you're so smart. We need people like you that like details and numbers. That's not me. But you have an opportunity through your gifting to reach people for the kingdom, and that it isn't either or, it's yes and. Yes. And I didn't realize that until I started in this role. And I'll remember the first time I heard one of my members say, I have to check with my CEO first. And I said to her, well, I thought you were the owner of the company. And she said, well, no, God owns this company. And I just was like, wow, putting God at the head of the company and serving him fully through the company that he gifted us with is truly amazing. And it's a game changer for business.
Yeah, it really is. I think that's amazing. And like you said, I realized, I agree too with that lie, right? That we can't, but we are called to be disciples no matter where we serve. And I think that's really encouraging. And I love how you're able to encourage business people with that. So on your journey too, like what is one advice that you would give somebody young, new starting out that maybe doesn't know what their place is in the marketplace yet? Like what advice would you give them?
Yeah. Well, you've got some great questions. This is really helpful. I think the greatest advice is don't try to do it alone. Know who's sitting at your table. It's so easy to get pulled away and drift from where you came from, especially if you have a good solid foundation of Christ in your life and you want to embark on business or entrepreneurship, or maybe you're like me working in a company that's not Christian at all. But if you don't have a good community around you and the people sitting at the table speaking into your ear are not of the same value set, um, you're choosing to play golf in the rough. You're going to play a hard game, and it's going to be long. It's going to be hard. You're going to stumble. You're going to do these things anyway. It's going to be challenging anyway. But the point is how far off course do you want to go? And I think the greatest advice I could ever give anybody, just anybody, but specifically young people getting started, is get in a community of people that believe like you. And you might say, well, there's no communities like that for Christian young entrepreneurs. Challenge you is yes, there is. Our Christian chambers are building in young professional networks all throughout these Christian chambers that we're putting out around the U.S. And there's all kinds of incredible resources for you to join with folks. And I think one of the biggest thing is just, it says in the Bible, guard your heart. It's the wellspring of life. And that means guard your heart, guard your ear gate. Who's listening? What are you listening to? Who's speaking into your life, into your business? What are you viewing? Take an inventory of that and truly guard your heart so that you can maintain what God's called you for. Because I can tell you right now, there is a purpose for your life. Maybe you haven't figured it out just yet, but there is a purpose and a calling for your life. And the only way to truly find out what that purpose is to surrender your life to Christ so that he can show you what he's gifted you with so that you can serve in a great way. And it doesn't have to go into ministry. I kind of went backwards. I went from business now into sort of marketplace ministry using my business skill set. But it doesn't have to be ministry. I one time, Renee, I was speaking at a conference and it was an electrical training conference. So secular in nature. It wasn't a Christian conference. And I was talking about my book. And I was sharing with them that the principles in my book are biblical because it's the greatest book ever written on business. And I could argue with anybody on that.
Yeah.
But I was also explaining it's not religious, but here's the parable that I'm using. This is what it was meant when Jesus said it in the Bible. And here's how we're going to apply it to business. And it's the parable of the seed sower. And it was amazing. In that room filled with business people, business owners, you can start to see the spirit wake up in some of their eyes, right? And the light of Christ was kind of coming alive, and you could feel the Holy Spirit in the room. And so afterwards, I'm signing books and talking with people, and somebody comes up to me and says, I'm a Christian. I was like, awesome. And the next one, I'm a Christian. This is like mostly men and it's electrical training and stuff. And so then someone comes up to me and he says to me, he said, in 2 years, I'm going to retire and I'm going to become a pastor. And I looked at him and I said, sir, you already are. And it was just like somebody gave him permission to go be who he was called to be. So be who you're called to be and bloom where you're planted.
I love
Where
it.
you're planted.
Oh, I love that. So tell us a little bit about your book.
Oh, sure. So I've got a book called The Best Robot Wins. It ain't personal. It's just business. And I got a lot of flack on that title. But what I'm talking about inside that book, and it really is based off of biblical principles, I'm talking about the need for balance between leadership and analytical metrics and running your company. And it's not really boring. There's a lot of stories of my coming up in the gas company that I use to illustrate along with the Bible to help teach. But I think the biggest thing about this book, which is so amazing, is I wrote it about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago before this huge AI with chat and all of the, open AI. And in it, I'm really talking about how, the robot revolution has changed the landscape of the workforce, and even how leaders and managers are treating the human capital. And in that sense, we've really lost touch with the human nature of people in business. And I remember when I left One Oak after 15 years of working there and sacrificing greatly. I didn't know who I was. I was Krystal Parker, vice president, with my house and my car. Like, I had no identity outside of my job. And even so much so, when I told my almost 5-year-old, four and some change, that I was leaving, it was a bit after that. Maybe she was about 6, but she tears up and she goes, well, if you're not Krystal Parker, vice president, who will you be? And she was really like, my mom's identity is leaving, because she didn't see me as mom. It was worker. That's who I became. That was my identity. And so I think that, this book is really about, at the core of the message, the core of this book is, once you can structure your organization in a way to help the human worker, that spirit man inside those eyes, to align their passion with the job and the role that they're in this company, in your company, you can gain the greatest competitive advantage of any business in the marketplace through the humans that are working there. But you can't lean so far on, it's all about the humans, we're going to have a big party, because you'll lose them. And you can't go so hard on metrics and measurements and KPIs and benchmarks, which are all great. Yeah. And so it's really finding that balance, creating an environment to just get this extraction of incredible human capital aligned with spirit purpose, so that they can be their best, they can live their best. You're going to have higher engagement, you're going to have better returns, better service, and it's unbelievable what can happen. So that's really what I wrote that book about.
I love it. And so if people want to get a hold of your book, is it sold on Amazon and all the...
Yep, anywhere.
Okay. All right. So say the name of your book again, because I want people to catch that.
Sure. It's The Best Robot Wins by Krystal Parker. It's Krystal with a K, Parker. You can put The Best Robot Wins book. The other book that we have is Kingdom Commerce book, and that's a co-authored book through the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce. And it's about leaders impacting culture through faith and action. And it's 28 incredible authors telling a little bit of their journey. So it's all different. So it's like a story a day. And it's a really great book as well. You can find that on Amazon as well, or you can go to uschristianchamber.com and go to Kingdom Commerce book.
Okay, awesome. And so if somebody has a business and they're like, I want to get involved with these Christian people, I want to change the way I do business. How can they get involved with you, and how can they find a chamber close to them? Or even if they want to start a chamber?
Wow. Yeah. Awesome. We love that too. Yeah. Because a lot of times people are going, you're kind of waking up, in the marketplace, and they're going, this isn't a very Christian friendly place. Can I even have my cross behind my desk, or am I going to get sued? What do I do? Can I talk about God? I didn't think I could have a Bible study in my company, but God keeps saying Bible study in your company, Bible study. So where do we go? Or I want to give my money and see it multiply by helping Christian businesses by buying my goods and service with them. What do I do? So as people are waking up, they're going, wow, I need a Christian chamber. And they realize there's one locally. Jump in, get involved, just jump in. Don't even look back. If there's not one, but the Lord's placing it on your heart to help start one in your community, reach out to us. Or maybe you just want to join an incredible community. We're looking for the best of the best Christian businesses in the U.S. to be part of the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce, the best of the best, highest in ethics, highest in excellence, serving at the highest level, and really treating employees in a way that make them want to come to work for your organization. If that's you, that's the business you're running or the one you want to run, join us at the U.S. Christian Chamber, and it's uschristianchamber.com. You can click that join button, become a member. learn about Christian chambers in your area, there's one more thing. On our website is a directory. In that directory, you can search for Christian chamber in your community. Maybe there, maybe not.
Yeah.
And you can also search our directory to purchase your goods and services from members that have signed a statement of faith that said, I believe in the birth, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. I believe in the holy living word of God. And we want that value alignment, the Christian chamber, because that's what we stand for.
Yeah. So if people know of a business too that they might recommend, they can also reach out to you, right? And recommend
Absolutely.
you. Awesome.
Please do.
I love this conversation and I love your heart. And I just know God is going to do amazing things through the chamber and through you. And so we want to thank you for your time today. But as we're going, a question that just popped into my head is some people might be asking, what is the difference between, like you said, a worldly business and a kingdom business?
Ooh, wow. Good one. This is a fastball right here.
Yeah.
This is great. And in fact, if people are asking that question, that's the first step.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What in my culture, in our business practices, are we doing that would even identify us as a company that had a heart for God, a kingdom values?
Yeah.
So let me preface this by saying what we have found is faith-driven CEOs outperform their peers. So it's good for business and good for God. So if you're thinking about what does this look like? How do I even know? Am I kind of a kingdom business because I go to church on Sunday?
Right.
Or am I going to church on Sunday and running a business that my policies, my procedures, our culture is not in alignment with kingdom values that I desperately want for my business? Then that is the first step, is take a look at those policies, procedures, value, and culture. And one of the things I encourage people when I talk about culture is not your mission on the wall or your boilerplate. It's what stories live inside your organization. That's how you tell a little bit about the culture. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
One of my favorite companies, I love their story, is Correct Craft. Bill Jurgen is the CEO. It's a $1 billion boat making company. Their mission, when you walk in, is building boats for the glory of God. Now, their people that buy these boats are not Christian, but they are built with the glory of God. And not only do they just have this beautiful message, through Bill's leadership and even the founders, they take their employees on mission trips to serve people. There is things happening within that organization, but there's one story that lives in that organization I love so much. I'm going to give it really quick, try to paraphrase it. But right when there was a war, there was a need for boats. And so this was early on in the company. There was a need for a pair, I don't do details, that's why we love accountants. But we'll go with 300 boats. The government needed 300 boats in a month. They had never built that amount of boats ever. And he said, the founder of the company said, we will do our best, but we're taking Sundays. We're going to have the Sabbath on Sunday. And the people said, no, you can't do that. You're not going to get this contract. You're never going to get it done. And they said, we'll do it. You guys are in a pinch, but we are taking our Sabbath. And it was a non-negotiable. And this is what this company's built on. And these are the stories in the walls. And so in this time of taking their Sabbath and building these boats, there were other companies that they also farmed out this boat making as well. The other companies were running 7 hard day and night shifts, running. Here is Correct Craft with their Sabbath. And in that time, God gave them innovative ideas. It's just amazing. God is so good. He's so good, especially when we honor him. He loves obedience over grind. This is another aha I've had. Yeah. And so in this time of the 30 days, they exceeded the 300 boats. They outperformed the other ones running 7 days a week. I mean, look at Chick-fil-A. It's another great example of values. So these are when you see this woven throughout and honoring God in your policies, procedures, your culture, the stories, that's when you know you've got a kingdom company. That's when you know you're serving at the highest level where you have excellence, ethics. You're the city set on the hill. People are coming to you for business. You're attracting great employees, and rising tide lifts all boats. So
Oh,
that's how I believe that you can tell the difference between the two.
I love that. And God is really raising up kingdom businesses right now and raising up the marketplace. And I just can't wait to see all that he's going to do, right? Like like you said, when you honor God and you give your business to God, just think we can change generations and change the world. And so, yeah. So if you are tugged at all with your heart and you want to be a part of what Krystal's got going here, just connect with her. And we thank you so much for viewing today and checking in with us. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much, Krystal. I love your heart.
Thank you for having me. This was a blast. Bye, everyone.